What is going on, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be previewing the 2025 college football schedule for South Carolina. I'm going to go through every single game on their 2025 schedule, and I'm going to ultimately predict the record for this team. But before we get into predicting their schedule, let's talk about this team and what they have returning. Ultimately, there's a lot of people who have high optimism with this team, and it's because of a quarterback like Lenora Sellers and a defense that had an extremely dangerous pass rush. Lenora Sellers will be a sophomore quarterback. He went off last season as a dual threat quarterback. This is a guy that has the potential to take a huge step forward next season with his talent. He's a dangerous dual threat quarterback, and if he goes off, he could be a Heisman winner. But obviously, it is going to take a team effort. They're going to need some receivers to step up. Nick Harbor is a guy that has the potential to break out and be a 1,000-yard receiver. He's one of the fastest players in college football, period. They also got the young Mazeo Bennett Jr. back, and they return a veteran receiver. And that guy is Jared Brown, a guy that had around 300 receiving yards last season, but he had 800 receiving yards for Coastal Carolina 2 years ago. So they do have some guys at wide receiver, but the receiver room is definitely questionable. They're not super deep there. And if this team wants to take that step forward and be a playoff team, I think they are going to need one of those three receivers to step up, and the guy I'm looking at is Nick Harbor. Lenora Sellers needs a go-to target. The offensive line has some young pieces. The offensive line will need to take a step forward there. They also lost Rocket Sanders at running back. And defensively, they actually only returned 49% of the production, which is 82nd in the country. They lost a ton of NFL talent from a very good defense. So there's a lot of optimism with this team, but they also have some holes that really need to be filled, and they're going to be relying a lot on the transfer portal and some young talent coming up. People like this team because of what Lenora Sellers brings to the table. They also got a great coaching staff and a team that knows how to win football games in November. They add Rasul Faison at running back. He was one of the better running backs from the group of five. He had a big season for Utah State. And they're going to have a bunch of new starters on defense, so they have some questions. But they do return one of the best players in the country in Dylan Stewart, the young monster edge. Stewart had 6.5 sacks and 3 forced fumbles as a true freshman for South Carolina off the edge. It's going to be interesting to see if he can carry over that momentum. Brian Thomas Jr. is back on the edge as well, and they add Damon Clowney, the younger cousin of Jadeveon Clowney, former #1 pick. This is a guy who could be a huge contributor on the edge. They should have one of the best secondaries in the SEC. They got some very good players in the back end coming back with DQ Smith, Judge Collier, and Jalen Kilgore. They also add a top cornerback from the ACC in Brandon Sisse. But in the front seven, they have questions at defensive tackle. They got some unproven players who need to step up. They got some questions in the linebacker room as well. So there's some holes in that front seven. There's some holes on the offensive line. But if you look at their elite playmakers, this team, if they put it all together, they could be dangerous, especially with a quarterback like Lenora Sellers. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into predicting their schedule. They do have an exciting Week 1 matchup. They will play Virginia Tech at home. Technically, it's not a home game. It's actually played in Atlanta, Georgia, but they will have home field advantage. So this will be a fun kickoff game for these two teams. Both teams return some good talent and return their quarterbacks. Virginia Tech's got Kyron Jones back at quarterback. He's a pretty solid dual threat quarterback that had a lot of optimism last season. Virginia Tech also does lose some of their top playmakers. They lost some good receivers. They lost their top back. And they lost some good defensive pieces as well. They are 72nd in the country in return in production. They return around half of the production from last season. I do think they should be a solid team. They could possibly take a step forward that a lot of people were expecting from them last season. I could see Kyron Jones having a bounce back season, but I don't think they'll be able to get this win in Week 1 versus South Carolina. I like South Carolina. I think their edge rushers can get to Kyron Jones. And I think Lenora Sellers can get the job done in Week 1. Give me South Carolina to win this game and move to 1-0. They will then play SC State out of the FCS. This team was okay last season. They did go 9-3 at the FCS level. They got destroyed in the Cricket Celebration Bowl against Jackson State, losing 28-7. I think South Carolina will win this game pretty comfortably and move to 2-0. The following week, though, they will get another home test. They play Vanderbilt. I do think Vanderbilt's going to be a pretty similar team to last season. They're going to be a tough team to beat. They got players who can fight, and they got a defense that I think will be solid, bend but do not break defense. They got Eli Stowers back at tight end and a solid quarterback in Diego Pavia. They got Junior Sherrill back at wide receiver and Cedric Alexander at running back. They have some players who can fight, and I think this team is going to fight their way to a bowl game once again. But ultimately, I trust Lenore Sellers in this game against the Vanderbilt defense. I think they have the playmakers to win this game at home. It could be a tricky one, but I think South Carolina has some very good talent that Vanderbilt just does not have. So give me South Carolina to win this game and move to 3-0. South Carolina will then get their first road game. They go on the road to play Missouri. This is a team they had a classic game with last season. They ended up winning a very close game against Missouri. Missouri has one of the better transfer portal classes in the SEC, but they also are near the bottom of the SEC in return in production. They lost a lot. They returned solid production on defense, but on offense, they had to replace a lot. They had a lot of guys go off to the NFL. They lost two very good backs. They lost Brady Cook at quarterback. They lost some of their top receivers, including Luther Burden. Defensively, I think they'll be solid there, but they don't have Blake Baker anymore. And I don't think they're going to have this defense that is unstoppable. Offensively, they get Bo Pribula at quarterback. I don't think he's going to be that great for them, to be honest. They got some playmakers like Kevin Coleman Jr. and Joshua Manning. They got Ahmad Hardy at running back. He should be a top back in the SEC. But this team shouldn't be much better than a bowl team. I do think they'll take a step back. They were solid last year, but nothing special. South Carolina will have a big quarterback advantage in this game. I think they have the coaching staff. I think they have the playmakers to go on the road and beat Missouri and move to 4-0. The following week, they will get Kentucky at home. A lot of people are probably thinking an easy win in this game. They have it before a bye week. They get it at home. The first half of the schedule isn't too tough. But no SEC game is ever easy. And honestly, I could see this being a sluggish and slow game. Kentucky is a team that can play tough against teams. Now, like I said, I don't think South Carolina is going to be super good at the line of scrimmage, and I think some people are underrating Kentucky. Eli Stoops has led Kentucky to some solid seasons. They haven't been anything great, but they're not talented at all. But next season, they actually add some very good pieces. They have one of the better portal classes in the nation. They add Kendrick Law at wide receiver. They got Jamori Macklin back. They also add J.J. Hester and Troy Stellato. Dante Dowdell should be a great running back, and I think Zach Calzada is an underrated quarterback. And defensively, they add some tough guys up front, David Gusta and Marquise Grace Humphrey. I just think this is going to be one of those weird games. Kentucky managed to beat Ole Miss last season. It was a slow and sluggish, low-scoring game. I think this will be a similar game. I think South Carolina gets ahead of themselves too much and loses to Kentucky at home. So I have South Carolina moving to 4-1. Following the bye week, they will go on the road to play LSU. Now, LSU is a team that snuck by South Carolina last season, but this season LSU will get this game at home. And I trust them to win this game comfortably at home. South Carolina is a team that's going to be able to challenge some teams next season, but when I look at the rosters from top to bottom, I think LSU has a better roster, honestly. I think they have a quarterback who's going to get the job done. He should be a good quarterback, almost on the same level as Lenore Sellers, maybe even better. I don't see Lenore Sellers taking advantage of the LSU defense. I think LSU is going to have a very improved defense and one of the best linebacker cores in the country. Harold Perkins Jr. is back, and they got a great middle linebacker and Whit Weeks back. They add Patrick Payton, one of the top defensive edges from the ACC. They got Mansour Dulaney, Jakeem Jackson, Tamarcus Cooley, all 4 stars joining them in the secondary. They have the top transfer portal class in America. They have weapons at wide receiver. This team is complete from top to bottom. Brian Kelly is a proven winner. Regardless of if he hasn't won the big national title yet, this guy has been winning everywhere. And I think next year LSU has everything they need to be a playoff team. The only area of concern I really have for them is the offensive line with a lot of young pieces. They have to replace some guys there. But they are talented, and I don't see South Carolina getting this win on the road. I like LSU to win this game, so give me South Carolina to move to 4-2. After a couple of tough losses, South Carolina will get Oklahoma at home. And honestly, I think Oklahoma and South Carolina are comparable football teams. They both have quarterbacks who have Heisman potential, but around them, they have to put it together, especially at the line of scrimmage. Oklahoma had major concerns on the offensive line. They got some questions at wide receiver as well. They got Deion Burks back, but how good will he be off of injury? And outside of Burks, I don't see a standout receiver. So John Mateer is going to need to elevate some receivers, but they also got Jaden Ott at running back. He should be one of the better running backs in the SEC. And defensively, Oklahoma should do their thing. They kept basically everybody outside of their top linebacker that went to the NFL. So I think this could be a pretty even matchup, but I do think South Carolina can get this win. I still have questions with that Oklahoma offensive line, and South Carolina should have a pretty darn good pass rush again. And I don't see South Carolina losing 3 straight. They should be able to get back on the right track, winning this game, and moving to 5-2, and they have it at home as well. The following week, all eyes will be on this South Carolina team. They will play Alabama at home. I'm expecting Alabama to be better in year 2 under Kalen DeBoer. They add Ryan Grubb as the OC. They have great defensive talent. They return some good production. Ty Simpson's a 5-star quarterback. And they got some young receivers who should be able to get the job done. I do think they'll be a lot better. I just feel like this is one of those games where South Carolina is going to get the win. They played better in the back half of the season, and Alabama has this game in a tough stretch on the schedule. It's never easy to play on the road at South Carolina. I'm going to say South Carolina can get this game, possibly an upset. I think they win it and move to 6-2. The schedule is starting to get tougher. They get Ole Miss on the road. Look, if this was an earlier season game, I would probably take Ole Miss. But South Carolina usually is playing their best football in the back half of the season. And honestly, I think South Carolina is going to be looking for revenge against this Ole Miss team from what happened last season. They didn't have Lenore Sellers in that game and they got destroyed. But now Ole Miss has a bunch of new faces. Austin Simmons should be a good quarterback, but he's going to have to step up. They got a bunch of transfer portal wide receivers joining the team. Defensively, they also lost a bunch of NFL talent. So they got some question marks. I think they'll be a solid team, but some of their top playmakers are gone from the last couple of years. Lane Kiffin continues to do his thing in the portal. Ole Miss shouldn't take this huge step back. They should still be in the mix. Lane Kiffin is a good head coach. But I think South Carolina is going to be able to win this game on the road and move to 7-2. The following week, though, they will get another tough road test. They have to go to College Station to play Texas A&M, a team that I'm actually pretty high on. They are top 10 in the country in return and production. They don't have that super electric quarterback that is returning, but they got a solid quarterback and they got a very good team around them. I do think they'll have an improved receiving core with Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion coming in, and Terry Bussey's a young guy who should really take a step forward. The offensive line has good upside with 4 projected senior starters, and they got a great backfield back in Le'Veon Moss and Ruben Owens. This team should run the ball extremely well. And defensively, the pieces are certainly there. They got a lot of veterans. They add TJ Searchy and Dayon Hayes, some very good playmakers on the edge. I like this Texas A&M team. I think they have the talent, and I think Mike Elko is a good head coach. I honestly think they're going to be in the playoff mix, and I think Texas A&M is going to avenge their loss from last season. They're a tough place to play. They got good home field advantage, and South Carolina just has a brutal stretch of games. They have to lose one of them. I think South Carolina will lose to Texas A&M on the road. So I do have them moving to 7-3. They will then get Coastal Carolina at home. This is a team that is returning some very good offensive production. And they add MJ Morris and Emmett Brown at quarterback. They got a good quarterback battle going on there. 2 quarterbacks from the Power 4 level. Jalen John's a good pickup at running back, and they got some playmakers. Tim Beck is a good offensive mind, and I could see this Coastal Carolina team breaking through next season. They did a solid job in the portal, but regardless, they won't beat South Carolina in the late season. South Carolina should win this game comfortably and move to 8-3. They will finish their season playing Clemson at home, and I actually have Clemson at 11-0 going into this game. South Carolina was able to beat Clemson last season, and honestly, I think they'll do it again, especially them having this game at home. South Carolina is going to be playing their hearts out, trying to get a playoff bid, because it is possible for a 3-loss team from the SEC to make the playoffs, especially with a schedule like South Carolina has. I think it's going to be a close game once again, but South Carolina can play good football late season. These 2 teams played last season, so why not pick South Carolina this season? I have them moving to 9-3. So there you have it. That is my prediction for South Carolina football in 2025. I have them at 9-3. I think this team is going to be very good. I just don't know if they're in that top tier of the SEC quite yet. They have some holes. When you look at the best 3 to 5 players on that team, this could be a team with the best 3 to 5 players in the whole SEC. But overall, as a roster, I do think they have some holes. If this team wants to be a dangerous playoff contender, Lenore Sellers has to go completely off, and I do think it is possible. But regardless, the SEC is tough. I don't know if they're going to get to 10 wins. That's why I have them at 9-3. But you guys leave your prediction for South Carolina down in the comments below. Now let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel because we upload a ton of college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing. And also consider checking out my socials down in the description below. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.